I was sitting in my office kind of racking my head. I'm like, how can we get into these larger markets? And our struggle was we had a crazy non-compete. I had a former company that had a 10-year non-compete, arguably illegal. Took us 6 years to get out of it. So we got out of that in late 2024. And we thought, oh gosh, our non-compete's done. We're going to sell franchises in all these large cities because we were prohibited prior to that. But what we found is it was still just a challenge to find someone who could take on a Chicago. So I was racking my head and I literally thought of the movie The Founder. And that is the total inspiration for what we're doing right now. When he said, we're not in the hamburger business, we're in the real estate business. And I thought, yes, we're in the media business, but we're really in the digital deployment business, if you will. So what we did is we found a way, and after talking to numerous franchise brokers, what we also discovered is there's far more people with far more money who want to own a franchise but not necessarily work. So for instance, the guy who buys 3 McDonald's for $6 million, you're probably not going to see him behind the kitchen flipping burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the window washer franchise is probably an owner operator model, way less funded. So we've created these tandem investment groups, we call them, and it was a way for taking investor groups to open up these cities, and that's what we're doing right now, and it's allowing us to open up these markets. And so we still run, operate, manage the entire process, but we create these franchises that are held rather than one person. It's maybe an LLC of 15 people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So right now, going through this process, what tell us about what's on your leaders list? Like, how are you prioritizing all of the change that comes with rolling out this new concept, going into new markets, expanding, introducing training, relationships, all this new stuff? What's on your leaders list specifically?
I wish I could find one thing that always worked, but I haven't been able to do that. I do know as of late, when we open up these cities, we've been hiring what we thought was, hey, let's hire these very experienced outdoor people or radio people or what have you. And I'm not knocking any of those industries, but I will say we are not order takers. We are ham and eggers. We're grinders, right? So we don't get a zillion RFPs all the time. So our people have to be out hustling all the time. And that's a little bit contrary to what some of these other media companies deal with, where they're more of an account management
Totally.
system. So that's the one challenge. And after COVID, I almost had given up on anybody who was 20 to 25 because I'm like, oh my gosh, they've just been destroyed from COVID on a work ethic, everything. And just recently, in the last 8 months, we hired a young 22-year-old girl named Josie who's just killing it. I'm like, and I was like, God, why is she doing so well? And I had a talk with her and I said, tell me about your life. And she's like, well, my dad owned a business. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I said, how'd it go? She goes, oh, it was a lot of ups and downs. And I'm like, well, was it table talk at dinner? She's like, every night. And then I knew her uncle, Eric, and he said, did he ever stop by? Because he was with iHeartRadio, and he's the one who actually called me to see if I would hire his niece, Eric Christopherson. And she said, he was there all the holidays. And I'm like, did they talk business? I'm like, all the time. And I'm like, okay, enough said. So she kind of understood just how tough it is sometimes to be out there and you have to actually do the work. So
Yeah.
one is hiring people is always been a challenge and still remains, right? Because I could hire the greatest outdoor salesperson who might fall flat on their face. So there's challenge one. Challenge two is we believe that, we've got this product that is gender specific. It's a captive audience. It's vetted. It's Geopath audited. Same company that audits the outdoor billboard companies audit us.
Mhm.
But yet we're still very low on the totem pole, right? So we're trying to get our name out there, but we're trying to be a little more aggressive and say, get over your ego, people. I understand it's in the bathroom, but our CPM on our eyeballs for the exact eyeballs that aren't, looking at 20 other media things, they're just looking at you. It's about half to sometimes as much as 10 times less on a CPM cost for the exact same eyeballs. So
Mhm.
driving that message has been challenging. But the biggest thing that probably challenges us right now is we need to get more government and national business. Right now, we're surviving off these, local type businesses that are, a state farm agent, realtor, a car dealership, right? And then we sprinkle in some national business. But our footprint's getting bigger and bigger. So we're an ideal customer for national products, especially if it's a gender specific national product. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to attract more government and national business. We get government business very well in Minnesota because we're in the Twin Cities, but we're also in St. Cloud, Duluth, Rochester, Brainerd, et cetera, Mankato. And that's also what we're building across the country. We're starting with the large markets. Then we're marketing the fact that we franchise in these other cities, in the smaller cities, because we want to populate. So when we open up Detroit, Our end game is to populate Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, Lansing, etc. Same thing with Phoenix and using Flagstaff and Tucson, etc. So we want to go into the big markets, tell our story, and say, by the way, there's also franchises available in this city or throughout the state.